That's the beautiful part about being married, but also working in business together. I don't know how to operate a camera.
You're better now than you were.
I am better now, but I would tell anyone that, and I still tell people that. You know, I can consult people all day long on running this type of business, but I cannot consult you on your creative process and a camera and this setup here and what we're doing here. Like, that's not me. But I could help you find someone to hire to do this and within your budget, and I can help you onboard them. And I can help you scale your revenue by automating your scheduling and
which is all
your
like
operations and
vitally important.
All right, we're back for another episode of The In Between, and I've got my co-hosts here.
Let's go. I'm Matt.
I'm Jenna, and we're ready to dive into another episode today. This one's going to be a fun one. Because it is all about marriage and business and how that works together in our lives.
It's easily the thing we get asked the most. People are like, hey, you guys have a family, you guys have kids, but you also have a business that's thriving, that's growing. How do you do both of those two things together? So it's going to be a fun episode.
It is going to be fun. And I think I'm excited to have this episode now rather than 3, 4, 5 years ago, because I feel like our responses would have been totally different.
Totally.
So let's bring up our listeners just up to speed a little bit about when we say we are married to each other, but we also own a business.
Sure.
So we have been married for 8 years.
8 wonderful years. It's went fast.
It has gone fast. And then we also own a production company in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And we've owned, out of the 8 years we've been married, we've owned the business now 6, going on 7 years. And so not that long, you know, before.
I mean, it was early on in marriage that we started. So we were still figuring out a lot of things about each other. And then we had to figure out a lot of things about business at the exact same time. So I feel like we're in a unique spot to add some like perspective to people who might be just newly married and they have entrepreneurial dreams. That's a hard word to say, right? But like, how do those coincide? Maybe your partner wants to run in the exact same lane. Maybe they want to support you. How does that look? It looks different for everyone, but today I'm excited to kind of share a little bit how it has looked for us over those years.
So let's talk this, because I was not involved in our business on day one. So just, I think 60 seconds or less version. Can you give us
sales pitch?
Can you give us the 60 seconds or less, and I mean it, on how VAST started and where I entered?
Start the 60-second clock. Go. All right. So VAST started because I had a little bit of background in being on camera for doing like talking head type stuff. For me, it was in the ministry world, but getting a message out there. Now I had spent a little bit of time selling cars and saw the value in sales and promoting and having good marketing, and people that were doing their own videos were kind of a step above that. And I got out of the car business and I had the opportunity to buy a camera. I just bought a camera randomly and was like, I'm going to start filming weddings. I said to you, I don't know. I was like, I figured if I didn't start making money with it in like 60 days, I would sell it, or it would just be a thing, right?
You'll never know if you don't try.
Quickly, I turned my spare bedroom into like a green screen room and started like filming talking head videos for different things. And I was always trying to pitch to people, I can help make marketing tools for you. So I had to buy a drone. I had to figure out how to get drone footage, because if I wanted to shoot a wedding, I had to know how to do that. This all evolved into an idea that I was like, what is reoccurring income? What's repeat business? Because I don't want to be a wedding videographer. No knock to them. I have to cross my fingers all year hoping that somebody's going to get married and wants to use us, right? But what is always happening? Houses are always being listed and sold. Marketing needs to be done, both photo. Some people believe in video, some people don't. Some people want scans, some people want, all sorts of things to market.
Your 60 seconds.
My 60 seconds is over. Hopefully you get an understanding. I was like, there's got to be a way to bottle this up, all of this need just in the Tulsa area, and create a big net that catches all of this. And boom, Vast Media was born.
That's great. So that's a good summation, even though it was over 60 seconds. I'm really proud of you for only going,
thank you. Don't knock
2 to 3
me,
minutes. But you birthed Fast Media. You did give birth to it. I did not. And I was working, as an executive assistant to a multi-million-dollar organization. And then, so I had seen a lot behind the scenes when it comes to management and
invoicing,
finances,
and,
and just, assisting at that level with different entities too, with not just one organization, multiple organizations connected to it. Combined with that, when I stepped out of that, went into higher education for a short season. So even that experience working in higher ed at a university. And then outside of that, when I stepped out of that, I became pregnant with our oldest and got a job offer to become director of marketing for a wedding company, which was a lot of fun. So, excuse me. So all of my experiences, okay, so it wasn't just one experience. It was all of those combined. And then in the same way, yours combined experiences led us to the point of where we are now at in our businesses today, combined with, I would say, our, not just our experiences, but with our natural abilities, our skills, our gifts that we have leaned into and sharpened over the past 6 years as well. So within that, I would say about year one, after year one of Vast, it was just you, and it was great.
It was me and another person
even
shooting photos.
Hang on, stop.
Yeah.
Even before that, it was just you.
Yeah.
For a good, I'd say 6 to 8 months, it was just you in the very beginning.
Yeah.
And I would look at you, and I would go, you look really busy. You're actually not sleeping. The fact that we now in 2024 sleep and are able to work
regularly
out and eat, like it didn't look like that on day one.
Yeah. But you got to have that hunger, right?
You were hungry.
Hang on, side note this for a second. You have to have a hunger and a drive to, if something is worth doing, it's worth doing right? It's worth doing with everything you have. For me, that was learning video. That was learning something in a space that wasn't giving video a whole lot of love, but I wasn't innovative in anything. I just knew that video was going to be bigger than it was.
Yeah.
And look at social media now, 6 years later.
Yeah.
Video driven, TikTok driven, all of that.
We came on the scene at the right time in our industry.
Before COVID.
Now our industry is so much needed beyond just general marketing. It's needed for content creation, just in general. So, but after that good amount of time where you were doing it on your own and I was still working, there was a point where I was like, you're pretty successful with this. Like, this is awesome. You're very busy. You've built a great client base. But Matt, I haven't seen us get paid. And when do people pay?
I was like, when I send the invoices out.
I was like, so when have you sent those?
And I was like, I send them usually like once a week or so. And Jenna's like, wow, that's a lot of them. You should probably just send them like right away when you shoot the appointment.
The problem was you hadn't sent them in a week. It was going on like a month. And so we were really behind on invoices. We were behind on ops in general.
I had another job.
Yes.
Right?
And so you were still working.
So like this wasn't my livelihood.
Job.
You were just checking in on my cash cow hobby that has turned into like, what's going on? Is this a side hustle? Or I'm like, I'm gonna have to quit my job. This is a lot of money. Yeah. And like, I'm letting people down if I can't continue to keep like doing this. Yeah. And you're like, you need to get paid. Yes. Like, so in enters Jenna into the situation.
So that's about the time I stepped in when I was looking at, okay, this is a promising business. This is something
proof of
worth
concept.
Selling our personal belongings to get equipment for.
I was hustling.
There were multiple times that you were selling our items that belonged to us as just people to get equipment,
furniture, rugs. You wanted to upgrade certain things eventually anyway. I was like, we don't need that.
Upgrade. You just went without for a long time. Yeah. But it was all worth it in the end. And so that's about how I came onto the scene. But even before that, it was more so, that at that point in time, it wasn't me fully coming onto the scene and working in Vast Media. That wasn't until I would say the post-COVID.
Yeah.
That was like post-COVID.
Yeah.
Like
so
that I really came on to the
we
scene.
rocked and rolled for a while. I am not like, I like to physically like at that point in launching Vast, I really enjoyed like shooting, or you always hate when I use that word, filming, capturing homes. Like I enjoyed that. It was an adventure. You'd always go into a different home. When you went into different nice luxury homes, not only is it content that you're making great for the client, but you're making it great because you have pride in what you do, which is create content, right? So that's always been rule number one, like for me. But being able to go into all that, I realized like rather quickly, this thing was only going to grow so far unless I like kind of got out of the way in some aspects of it. And what I meant by that was like, one person can only shoot so many homes in a day or capture so many projects in a day, and you're capped out.
You were turning away people.
I was turning away people because I wanted like my work to be a certain way, and if it wasn't, like I was kind of my own lid, so to speak. And more people were lining up, and the only way you could combat that was hiring more photographers and videographers and getting them trained. And it was like me, and you were doing all the financial like billing and follow-ups and some of the communication. I think you were running our social media from day one, right? But which you've always rocked and rolled at doing that. But anyway, it just like got to a point where I was like, I'm my own lid. Yeah. And this is a really great hobby, but I'm tired. And how many years can you be tired and just float on a hobby? I was like, I actually want this not only to provide for me, but for my family, for my wife, for all of our coworkers, like all of our people that work with us at Vast. Like I wanted their lives to be taken care of. I wanted to create something that was a little bit larger than me that maybe one day I could step away from or just be proud of and let it run. And not that we've ever arrived, but here we are 6 years later. We're in a vastly different position than we were then. And we're a lot closer to that kind of dream of being able to create and make the best content for the best clients in Tulsa and the surrounding areas. And people are always asking us, where are we going next? You know, who knows? But back to, you know, marriage and business together, I had to ask for help. And that's exactly what I did. I went to Jenna and I said, look, she was starting to help more just, I call it like volunteering. You were like volunteering at the church.
Take a paycheck for
you
years.
didn't take a paycheck, but you did like a ton of behind the scenes stuff so that Vast as a whole, or Matt's job, because at this point I had quit my job. I had left my current job and I was like, I'm going all in with this. I'm busy enough. And at the very least, I'm busy enough to keep myself busy. And at this point we were 2 years in, and I was like, maybe a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When you came in about 2 years in, it was only about a year and a half to 2 years before you were like, you were helping make decisions, and
but I was waiting on you to make
you
finals.
were frustrated with me. It was actually putting strain on our marriage as well, because now you're in it just like me, and you're needing answers because I'm the boss, but you're like helping fulfill things during the day. But I'm actually out in 90-degree heat, like filming a mansion in South Tulsa, like, and I wasn't answering my phone. Finally, one night we sat down, we were just talking about stuff, and you're like, I need this to move forward. Like we're going places. I believe in this company. And I saw the exact same passion that I had when I was selling our furniture in you. Like you believed so much so that you were starting to put everything you had into it. But you're like, this is frustrating because I need to make these decisions, and like, you're not getting back to me, or you're not whatever. And I said, what do you need? Because you are just as capable, if not 100 times more capable than me to run this business and to run it effectively. What do you need? Do you need to be...
Pause there, because I think a lot of people, when they think you're a business owner, that you should be the one to run it and run it effectively.
I think you should be...
How is that different for us? I think that's one of our strengths, that we have been able to grow so much, that you did recognize that, and you had someone helping run the operational side of the business. I know a lot of creatives out there and a lot of entrepreneurs that launch something and they know how to do that thing really well. So let's put it in perspective here. They know how to run a camera. They know how to create something. They are a good photographer, but they are not business savvy. when it comes to actually running a company.
How do you deliver that?
And it's not
content?
that you weren't savvy. It's just you just didn't have a passion for it. It is two separate things.
That part of the job might be boring to you. There were certain aspects to the operational side of Vast that I hated.
Yeah.
And they were lacking, and you knew they were like the tiny little keys to success, like that were going to make us totally different, run more effectively, be better on payroll, all of the things. And I was just like, yeah, just do it. You did. You came in and I was like, so I promoted, I was like, Jenna is now our active CEO. She's co-owner. She's always been co-owner, but she's our CEO. And like, you don't need me to make any decisions. I kind of stepped to a creative director role at that point, just overseeing bigger commercial production jobs, helping with stuff on the back end with the office as well. And I was still in the field shooting quite a bit at that time.
Side.
So I was doing a little bit of...
But that's the beautiful part about being married, but also working in business together. I don't know how to operate a camera.
You're better now than you were.
I am better now, but I would tell anyone that, and I still tell people that. You know, I can consult people all day long on running this type of business, but I cannot consult you on your creative process and a camera and this setup here and what we're doing here. Like, that's not me. But I could help you find someone to hire to do this and within your budget, and I could help you onboard them, and I could help you scale your revenue by automating your scheduling and
which is all like
operations and
vitally important. And it's the extra. It's almost non-negotiable now. Back then it was like you were doing things with excellence that like no one was doing, and that's what put us in a position that we are in today even. But finding that and recognizing that, you're right, it's not easy. Like a lot of times I just want to walk around and be like, Vast is successful. That was something I started, you know, and be a little prideful about it. And it's like, it's giving jobs to other people and their families and their livelihoods and all of that. Like I never thought I would be the person signing people's paychecks and things like that. But you know what? It came a point when I was like, you have to understand what's bigger than yourself. So I mean, that was hard to not just, you know, want to sit there and let something get as big as only you can make it and like keep control over it. I was like, this thing is so much bigger than me. And if I have someone, my wife, who I trust more than anything in my life with, is saying there's certain little tweaks I could be making to make this better, then I wanted to give full power, authority, whatever it was, to have those tweaks made, because at the end of the day, that didn't change anything that I felt like I was called to do. So after all of that, assessing in walks, I was like, I have to let Jenna just run with this. So yes, was that decision the easiest? It wasn't as hard as if you're in stride with your spouse, and specifically running a business with your spouse, you are married first. Like you're married first before anything else. If that's settled in your mind, you can trust each other to go places that only you would trust that other person to go. In other words, at another job, you might not trust your boss that much, but you trust your spouse because you're married first, right? So that's kind of the biggest thing. I was like, I trust Jenna. It's not like Jenna's seeing that Vast is successful and now she's stepping in and wanting to be a part of it. No, she's the one that's going to help make it even more successful. So you did, right?
Yeah, I think so. Let's kind of talk about fast forward to 2024 nowadays, because I feel like our journey has really evolved over time of being married and working together. I think from the times we've been speaking to, like 4, 5, 6 years ago even, Vast was our whole life. Like it consumed every conversation, every moment,
it was identity night. It was what you do, what you wake up for.
In the middle of the night, it was early mornings.
It was ass backwards, honestly, with our kids. I mean, like not that our kids suffered, we suffered physically. You and I, we didn't let our kids get the brunt end of anything. We tried not to, but we also made sure kids and business, if you count the business as a kid, we're all taken care of. And at the end of the day, we were lucky sometimes if we were even paying ourselves. If we were going months without, our staff was good and taken care of. But the economy has taken roller coaster rides as well. COVID was good to us in some aspects, and it was hard in other ones. So, it was a ride.
Yeah.
Like, it's been
I just
a ride.
felt like it was such a roller coaster ride. So nowadays, when we're speaking to that, nowadays being married and owning a business together looks very different. We rarely talk business unless it's on our calendars with one another to talk about.
We've learned our lessons. Do you want to talk about what some of those boundaries are, like practical boundaries for our listeners? Like, what does that mean? Like, we don't talk business. So
we don't bring it inside our house.
We don't talk. You made a rule that I thought was really good. We don't talk business in the kitchen.
Yeah, in the kitchen.
Which our kitchen's right behind me. So it's pretty focal point of our house. So like it's gotta be basically scheduled out. We have to know.
That's the biggest thing. It's just it's scheduled, and
so our brains
Matt
can
knows
switch.
You can be a little more fluid with that. I'm not. I'm very like, whoa, if you come at me trying to talk about business when it's 5:30 p.m. and I have 2 kids pulling at my legs and I'm trying to make dinner.
Trying to watch Miss Rachel.
Like
they're
someone's
screaming.
trying to take their clothes off and screaming and
grease on the walls.
Can you wipe me? And like there's just a lot. But you're wanting to talk about something like business related. That's just not the optimal time. But you in the past you would get frustrated.
I talk about it usually when it's happening.
This is our life. What do you mean you don't want to talk about it? I'm like, how about like just not right now?
Yeah,
like,
we would get in like fights, arguments, whatever you'd call it, because I'd be like, you're not in it as much as me when you were in it way more than me. You just weren't as like upset about it in that moment because it was 5:30 and our kids needed to eat. And
I'm just not in that box right now.
You would look at me and be like, hey, Matt, read the room.
Yeah.
Like, read the room. Why are you even bringing this up?
Yeah.
And you have to realize that like, if you've built a successful business, it shouldn't be a house of cards, meaning you shouldn't take away yourself or your daily what you do and the whole thing crumble. If it is not a business.
So I
it
feel
is
like
a
that
hobby.
That was a really big
your hobby.
Turning point for us over the past just 2 years, I would say, is that we really realized that if the business is only running on Matt and Jenna and us,
like us physically making all the calls and shots throughout the daily up for 5 years.
Not just that, but like even like helping our customers and clients. And if it's only when people think vast media, if they only think Matt and Jenna and they're deeply saddened when Matt and Jenna isn't in that equation, then we have nothing. We do not have a brand. And so for the past 2 years, it was get out of the way as much as possible and create a brand. And I will say
that stands on its own.
That stands on its own. And it's been a wild ride creating that. But here in August of 2024, I'm very happy to say I feel like we have really not arrived, but we are well on our way.
We're steps closer
to that brand, standing on its own and being worth something outside of Matt and Jenna, and it being a true brand and true business. I think a lot of that attributes to the pivots we've made in the business over the past year, but also just our team too. Like our team now in August of 2024, stellar rock stars, crushing it, literally
photographing and capturing the most gorgeous homes in this area for the last they crushed the entire busy season, the entire Parade of Homes season, all the extra parties, all the extra things.
And not just that, but even the ops team. Yeah. Like the operational team, because that was always...
That's the unseen Wizard of Oz, behind the curtain.
And I think a lot of people still to this day are like, where's Matt and Jenna? Why can't I talk to them about my problem today? And why can't they book my appointment for me
because I can't take care of 3 people at once. Once it gets to a point where it's overwhelming for one person, even Matt and Jenna, we hire people that we trust in and we train and we believe that can carry out that same vision just like anyone else can. And sure, have we had great hires and bad hires? Of course, everyone has. But that's where I feel like we've been more intentional in this last year about who is on our team and what they're doing and what the importance is, and tying their why to their what. Like tying why they do what they do so that they can attach purpose to it, whether it's the media pros out there or it's the ops team behind the scenes. The ops team a lot of times can feel like, when someone's dissatisfied, who are they going to call? They're going to get the ops team, right? They're going to get the vast number. They're going to get a physical human being that talks to them. Though we do have a menu, people get very upset about the menu, but
I think it's
talk about the menu. They're like, is that AI that's talking to me? No, it's a physical human, but we need to know what you're calling about to route that call directly. Yeah. So again, a step closer to not just a side hustle hobby, but a full-fledged business. Right. That's how we've been able to capture like business for many big corporations in Tulsa to not only shoot their content, but also manage their content.
Yeah. So. And I think too, I can't think just kind of rounding out, and this might be like a part 2 episode. I think we'll carry into it. But I think the biggest thing for us has been whatever we do within this business, if something happened to us tomorrow, would the business still continue to spin? I think it would be a disservice to our employees if we said the business is now closed. I got hit by a bus and I'm now in the hospital.
Wow.
Sorry, guys, you won't have jobs anymore.
Harsh.
You would probably be like, what the heck? The business can't run without you?
Right, exactly.
Like, I can't have my job without you.
Right?
And so I feel like over the past year, I've really attacked that and have this either automated or hired it or squashed any need to have us involved within things so that it can still continue to spin, run, and us continue to work on it rather than work in it.
For like the first time in 6 years, being able to work on it. A lot of people don't
understand that. They think, oh, I'm not seeing you on the field, Matt, so you don't work anymore.
Yeah.
They think, oh, I can't call you, Jenna, and you personally be the one to do this. So, you're just not in it.
People call you thinking you're going to like go shoot their project.
They
Jenna has to remind them, I don't even use a camera. I don't even use
cameras, guys.
They're like, I thought you owned Vast.
I do, but I don't use cameras. That's the creative guy over there.
There's just a disconnect sometimes though, right? Like some people don't know and they want to know.
Yeah.
They're not nosy, or maybe they are, but it's like they just want to know. And it's like the reality is Jenna and I have been able to step back to lean in more on what is actually happening in the business and what's going on.
And that right there is not a bad thing. I think that's every business owner's dream.
Yeah.
I think if you're a business owner and you want to continue being the face and you want to continue working on the ground in your business and doing everything possible,
you will be your own lid.
You're going to be your own lid. You're going to hit a point one day in your life where you wake up and your family has probably left you. They've probably written you off as you work
Hopefully
too much.
Not.
You've probably there's going to be things that start to fall. For us, we started to see it in our own family, in our own lives. Just being transparent, we started seeing it, and I was like, "This is not what I signed up for. I'm not doing this the rest of my life." And it was a hard conversation for both of us. I think too, like we have a team on currently that really understands that about us too. They know we have really laid the foundation. We've put in the hard work. We've put in the years without paychecks. We have sacrificed. We have built this. Yeah. And we are now going to empower our team to continue carrying out the work and operating and things. And so I just really appreciate a team that understands that and
that steps up to the plate and is excited and is like every bit as passionate about how I was and how you were when we first injected ourselves into what was going on at Vast. Like you have to let your passion coincide with that drive and like the knowledge. So like we provide both, right? The training, but it's like our photographers, our media pros, they get a lot of swings at the plate, right? There's a lot of real estate that needs to be sold or media that needs to be created just in this area alone. So, it was cool though, like to come to that realization because I enjoy now more than anything. Some people like watching their own work projects come to pass. I enjoy more than anything going on our project management board when I'm, because you and I inject ourselves, we can look over things and actually manage things if we wanted to, but we have the freedom to where it doesn't have to anymore. I love watching projects that our team has done that has crushed it out of the park. I wasn't even on the shoot, really proud. Wasn't there. Wow, that was a great decision on that framing. That was a great decision on that shot. Wow, what you got her to say was incredible. I'm talking about like commercial production stuff. So that to me was always the stuff that, ooh, don't touch that. Only Matt goes to those jobs, right? And I was like, why? This is like a carpenter or like a plumber. It's a set of tools. It's a skill set, being able to tell a story digitally and put it in the palm of your hand today. And that's like, it's ever increasing. The minute you try to catch up, it's something else has already happened. So how can we create something that also needs to be created on a regular basis? That's how I thought of real estate. I was like, houses need to always be sold and sold better than they need to look even better than maybe they are to create a little bit of a frenzy. And then, so anyway, as far as it relates to marriage, the boundary of just not talking about business at certain times of the day, in certain places, when we operate business in and around our home as well, being owners, there's gonna be times where conversations come up and we both look at each other. We're like, can we side note that? Can we talk about that later? Each one of us has to respect the other one if it's not time to talk about that. And that's me included, because a lot of times it's me wanting to talk about something. I'll just be honest. It's me wanting to talk about something. And now today, when you say, let's side table that does not tell me that you're not interested in hearing what I have to say. When we were younger in marriage, I thought, you're not in it as much as me. Like, you see what I'm saying though? As you grow in marriage, you grow as business owners as well. It's been a little unique to have both perspectives kind of in the same. So.
No, that's great. I think this is going to be a part 2, because there's a lot more in marriage. In particular, I always get friends that are like, my husband and I want to start this company. What do you recommend?
How do you support each other? Yeah.
Can you work? I know a lot of people that are like, how do you work with your spouse? I could not work with my husband.
It's kind of like
work with my wife. I could not do that.
It's kind of like hiring a best friend, right? Like, it's kind of the same thing. Like, you really get tested in your friendship, whether it's going to stand or not, whether that, like, when the rubber meets the road, right? It's kind of like with your spouse. Do you guys love each other first as spouses? Okay, then you can go down this uncharted territory. It takes a lot of faith, because you're both doing something that maybe you've never done before, right? So let's pick that up in part 2.
Okay, awesome. Sounds great.